Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu pakhairagale. Ni hao, chudishumme, washmale, ohio gozaimas, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, buna, mucho gracias, swabi, ab bhalli kare aaya, hosh galden and I was sayo, khuyo mora chi, vato chi, hal jot, kalimera, khairutan. And a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning, alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajra Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Asad Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is feeling cozy under their quilts and that they're going to have a wonderful day today. Assalamu alaikum, Hajra. How are you doing today?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for introducing me. Certainly, it's getting a little bit colder, but not exactly the colder how it should be in the December. But we will save that debate for some other. No, it's not that much cold. I mean, the way we used to, layer up with the overcoats and with the jackets. I don't think so. That is the sort of the winter or the coldness that we are experiencing or witnessing in Islamabad, because December means a temperature will fall to, I think, 0 degree, and it's not the case, right?
That's true, and it's different with different people as well. Now, imagine that for me to wake up in a house where there's no gas, I think it's literally different.
Yeah, I mean, gas problem is very extensive, and I think the mercury temperature remains the same, which is not 0 degree, and that's very concerning. But Pakistan qualifies for the semi-finals under 19 Asia Cup 2024. A good news. Early in the morning, after beating UAE by 69 runs in the 7th match of the ACC at the Dubai International Cricket Stadium in Dubai, Pakistan under-19 secured a commanding 69-run victory over UAE under-19 to seal their spot in the ACC Men's Under-19 Asia Cup semi-finals. Led by Shahzeb Khan's scintillating 132 and Riazullah Khan's explosive 106, Pakistan posted a formidable 314 runs for the loss of 3 wickets. And I think this victory shows us that how much Pakistanis are invested into the sports of cricket. And I always say it's not just a sports, it's much more than that. It is a lot of emotions invested of entire nation into this sport. And I think Shahzad can better talk about it. But
exactly. So when we talk about, all our emotions invested into it, obviously, because it's because of the fact that, that we are a cricketing nation. Our national sport may be hockey, but ladies and gentlemen, the focus primarily is on cricket as well. True. Recently, we have been doing well with all the changes within the selection committee and the coaches and everything. I think since the time that Akif, Javed, Saab, Aleem Dar and Azhar Ali has come in, in the selection committee or the selections role as well, I think that the team's doing wonderfully well, which is why, just in the previous game of T20 International, Pakistan won against Zimbabwe, and that too in a very convincing victory, which is why today we are actually making sure that we're going to seal the victory as well today again, because 3-match series in Bolivia today. It's obviously going to be the second T20 International where Pakistan will try to lead the series, will try to clinch this series today. If they're able to do it, I think that it'll be wonderful for Pakistan cricket, because in the recent past, we won against England, a test series in Pakistan. Then we won 3 one-day international series against Australia, where we won 2 one-days, and Australia won 1, so it was 2-1. Then we won, obviously I'm not going to talk about the 3 T20 international series, which was washed away by Australia against Pakistan, because they became victorious, and then eventually moving on to Zimbabwe, where we won the one-day series first. Now it's about time that we win the T20 international series.
Absolutely, and today happens to be 3rd of December. It is the International Day of Persons with Disability, the day which was proclaimed by United Nations General Assembly back in 1992 to promote the rights and the well-being of the people with disabilities so they can fully participate fully, equally and effectively in the society. President Asif Ali Zardari reiterated Pakistan's commitment to full participation of persons with disability in all the aspects of their life, urged society to help create an environment for their dignified treatment and provide them resources to thrive. On the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif reaffirmed Pakistan's commitment to promoting the rights and the inclusion of individuals with disabilities. This year's theme is amplifying the leadership of the persons with disabilities for an inclusive and sustainable future, which stresses the importance of empowering individuals with disabilities to take the lead in shaping the destinies and contributing to the societies. And there are some of the facts, I think some of them are very staggering, in which we want to develop this conversation, and which is an estimated 1.3 billion people experience significant disability. This represents 16% of the global population. or 1 out of 6 according to United Nations. Some persons with disabilities die up to 20 years earlier than those without disabilities, and people with disabilities have twice the risk of developing conditions such as depression, asthma, diabetes, stroke, obesity or poor oral health. And in order to further delve into this concept, our team members Rahila and Sajeel have prepared a report, a visual representation of what exactly is this day about. Why don't we go and take a look at it?
Let's do it. Good morning.
16% of global population is a very significant number of people adding meaningfulness to the society. This 16% of global population is categorized as disabled. International Day of Persons with Disabilities is celebrated on December 3rd every year, promoting the rights, dignity, and well-being of persons with disabilities at every level of society and development. It also raises the awareness of the challenges of the persons with disabilities in all aspects of political, social, economic, and cultural life. This year, the theme is Amplifying the Leadership of the Persons with Disabilities for an Inclusive and Sustainable Future, which is epitomized by the Global Disability Rights Movement slogan, Nothing About Us Without Us. It recognizes the important role the persons with disabilities playing in creating a more inclusive and sustainable world for all, and also emphasizes their inclusion in decision-making process that affect their lives. The United Nations Disability Inclusion Strategy provides the foundation for the sustainable and transformative progress and disability inclusion through all pillars of the United Nations. Through the strategy, the United Nations system reaffirms that the full and complete realization of the human rights of all persons with disabilities is an inalienable, integral, and indivisible part of all human rights and fundamental freedom. The freedom and the right to think and to voice the opinion is every human's basic right. On this day, we encourage the institutions, organizations, and the government to celebrate the achievements of persons with disabilities and support a life for them which is as independent as possible. This will happen only if we create an environment and opportunities which suits the needs of people with disabilities. Let's join together and highlight the essential role that people with disabilities play in their communities. And let's aim their inclusion in all areas of life, starting from our homes.
Thank you so much, Rahila and Sajeel, for a wonderful report for our viewers out there as well. It's the team which makes the dream work as well. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we certainly want to highlight, the initiatives taken by people who are differently abled as well. And why not? I think today is the day that we gather to celebrate, raise our concerns and voices about how they need to be included and be those members of the society who have actually been fruitful and contributing to the community as well. First up, we're very lucky that we've been joined by the first practicing visually impaired psychologist in the history of South Asia, Vice President, Human Rights Cell, Pakistan People's Party, and lifetime member of Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, HRCP. We're very lucky that we've been joined by Zulqurnain, Asghar Saab, member, Human Rights Commission of Pakistan. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Good morning. How are you?
Walaikum salam. Thank you. I'm perfectly fine.
Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here. Not just that, ladies and gentlemen, this amazing, wonderful guy, very humorous. Always when you're around him, there's no dull moment. One of the most amazing people that I've met and have done or contributed quite a lot when we talk about, the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. Happens to be the Executive Director, Special Talent Exchange Program, famously known as STEP. He is Muhammad Atif Rahmatullah alayhi. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. Thank you, Syed.
Thank you so much
for having me here. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure hosting you, both of you. So, Zulqurnain Saab, we will start with you since it's the International Day of Persons with Disability. And I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, and she highlighted that even within the people who are disabled, there are two categories. One, people who have a visible sort of disabilities, for example, who are in the wheelchair, and I think the society is working to accommodate that. But then there are people who are intellectually, facing intellectual disappointment, or I don't know how to put it like in a better words. For example, who are suffering from the autism or going
have learning disabilities.
Yes, learning disabilities.
Communication disabilities, learning disabilities.
Yes. So what are we doing to cater towards this second category, which is not very visible, but equally they require different needs and different catering to their particular disability?
This is a very important question. Thank you for asking this question, because this is a dilemma of our country that usually we feel like, usually it is perceived that the disability is only a person have impairment or something like that, physical impairment or something that is visually or that can be perceived, that is called disability. But if we look into detail this issue, because disability is not a simple thing, disability is itself, it has lot of diversity. For instance, those they have learning disabilities, different psychiatric disorders, psychosis, or sometimes intellectual impairment, that is called basically learning disabilities. We need to educate people to cater their needs, because they don't understand long instructions, they don't understand detailed things. So for them, it is only the thing that is required, that is break the information in short pieces or bits, that so you can engage them. For instance, you can write down the instructions for them if they are educated. If they are not, you can educate them. They could be educated about basic things through pictorial messages, because the pictures could be understandable for everyone.
Absolutely.
These are the measures. Those could, if you can take these measures, we can educate them, we can provide them, we can give them access to the information that is needed.
And to talk about such measures, I think I would certainly want to move on to Muhammad Atif Sheikh Sahab Rahmatullah Alayh, because certainly I think STEP has done a wonderful job, may it be inclusion, may it be making sure that the leadership stands with people who are differently abled as well. Today, while we are observing this day, how do you think that we have made advancements in terms of making the members feel that they are inclusive members of the society and they can equally contribute?
Thank you, Abbas. And today, I remember the day when President Zardari ratified the UN Convention in 2011. I clearly remember I was sitting beside him, and that was a historic day in the country of in Pakistan, that we were as a 110th country ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and which transformed the legal framework in Pakistan at that time. So we moved to a rights-based approach. And now today, when we are observing the International Day in 2024, we have been feeling proud that we have a very good legislation at all the provinces level. We have the Sin Empowerment of Persons with Disability Act, we have ICT Rights of Persons with Disability Act, we have law in Punjab, in KP, in Balochistan, and in GB. So what we need to do, we need to focus on the implementation of these legislation, which are about the inclusion of people with disability.
But Atif bhai, this is something that we really need to work on, because now imagine that if we are to kind of talk from the perspective of legislation, they say that we are an over-legislative country.
But here we need to recognize the leadership of people with disabilities.
Okay.
We need the voices from the grassroots level. They should be heard in the policy-making corridors. If they are not part of the political process, if they are not part of the electoral process, in last elections, only 11,000 polling stations were accessible out of 85,000 polling stations. Right. So most of the people with disabilities are not able to cast even their votes. So we need their voices to be heard. We need their leadership. And the leadership concept, the concept of leadership of persons with disabilities was coined by STEP in 2009. We organized the first ever leadership conference on International Day, and we invited people from all over the country so that they can exhibit, they can demonstrate that they are contributing. They are not always demanding. They are giving back to the society. So we need to acknowledge those leaders of people with disabilities who are contributing to the society, who are changing the life of people with disabilities. So this is the first thing. They should be heard. Second, the question which Hajra raised, that what are invisible disabilities. So according to the international data and recent result of Pakistan Digital Survey by Pakistan Bureau of Statistics, the population is around 10%, which is approximately 25 million people with disabilities are living in Pakistan. But invisible disabilities are still uncounted. Intellectual disabilities, psychosocial disabilities, or other invisible disabilities, they are still uncounted, unheard, unseen population of the country.
So what sort of conversations we need to have in order to cater to them? Because I think we are going towards that particular part of the society where we're talking about inclusivity. I mean, we are erecting structures that are catering to it.
We need to shift our focus from fixing the human being, We have to fix that environment.
And what sort of participation that requires from which stakeholders? Ji, Zulqurnain.
It's very important because the thing is we need to understand, because every disabilities has different needs,
Absolutely.
and those needs can be addressed through educating people through awareness first. Second step is, if we educate, not only educate the people, but there should be the voices of person living with disabilities in power corridors. That is the way through which we can achieve these goals, because if people are moving example around them, then their attitude gets shifted. Because for attitudinal changes, we need to present them examples instead of showcasing disabilities, because usually it happens people showcase disability, but instead of showcasing them, bring them on the stage so they can tell their stories, because usually it is quite common. People understand through stories, through their narratives.
And when we look at things, when we look at how challenging life gets for them, I think that's when you certainly get to feel what sort of pain they might be going through. But you, I think, hit the nail on the head where you say that we really need to make sure that we educate people, that we give them more awareness. That's fine. Now, you've educated those individuals. They're more aware. I think in this part of the country, maybe Islamabad or the urban centers, I think people are really very well aware. They're very educated. But now let's come down to the point where how do you think that they can access those resources which can help them make their life better?
Okay, it's very important, because access to the resources is a key thing. For instance, if we talk about access to the resources, if their access to the resources is denied, because access, then that means they are buried, confined in the four wall of their home. Access to the resources required 2-3 steps. First, accessible transportation. Second, availability of assistive devices. Third, most important, accessible infrastructure. And fourth, right mindset, because there is usually we don't talk about attitudinal impediments, because if usually those are greater barrier, and attitudinal barriers are more greater than infrastructural barrier, because those are really strong impediments to the access to the resources.
Which is why I actually spoke about how, in the urban centers, for example, even if you look at the metro bus service, it's very accessible.
Okay.
People can travel. That's a great point.
But that is catering to the visible aspect of the disability,
That's
right?
true. That's true. Which is why I think that I would want to move on to Atif Saab over here as well, because Atif Saab, now with artificial intelligence and all of that coming in, people are moving on towards assistive technologies. Now, if we are to speak about assistive technologies, do we really have something that we refer to as assistive technology in urban centers of Pakistan?
Exactly, like Pakistan is not behind in technology. We have very good institutions, we have research institutes, but the thing we are lacking is the research on assistive technology and how it enables human beings. How, like, let me give you a very simple example. A person with disabilities, if she or he doesn't have access to a good wheelchair or good transport, they can be information worker, they can work from home if we enable the assistive technology. So, we need to conduct our research. Let me share one thing which is a big development in Pakistan. University College London and Global Disability Innovation Hub, they are going to conduct a research on the ecosystem of assistive technology in Pakistan, how it is being provided, the supply side and the demand side. Right. So we need to work on the policies related to assistive technology, which includes very basic things like wheelchair, hearing aids, or braille or digital devices for the visually impaired person. Similarly, easy to understand devices for the person with psychosocial disabilities.
But we do not have any assistive technology for people with learning disabilities.
Yes, we have it. And WHO, sorry to cut you, WHO has recently launched a list of basic assistive devices. We can access it on their website. That list is developed particularly for Pakistan. Right. So we can, the industry, suppliers or the service delivery organization, they need to check what kind of devices they can produce so that people with disabilities who are still out of the mainstream who has children with disabilities, 96% children with disabilities are still out of school. So we need to bring them to the classrooms if we have enabling technology.
Right. And Zulqurnain sir, one last question before we wrap up this segment, and that is related to the spatial dimension of having this conversation on the disability. So we are focusing on the urban centers, but we also have a huge population living in the rural areas. And you mentioned a very important point in between the undercurrents of your conversation, in which we need to have more empowering narratives around it, not disempowering narratives, not victimizing narratives, right? You know, if that person has it, you know, he's very bichara or this or that, like that, right? So how can we cater to those particular spaces in the rural areas, because there's another stigma attached to it? I mean, they're very dark sort of concept attached to, you know, if that person is disabled or differently able, you know, it's because of some sins, or, you know, that's really off sort of a narrative. How can we make those conversations more empowering?
And then I might have one more question after this one. Yeah.
Okay, because it's a very important question, I must say. First of all, we need to understand, we need to educate people that they are equal human beings just like you, and that education could be promoted through local leaders, local stakeholders. Different people can be engaged first. Second thing is, we need to provide them awareness through in their indigenous languages, local languages. Usually what what is the common practice, we provide information in Urdu or English.
Which is very much understandable, Zulqurnain bhai.
Still.
Because if we want the scale of the awareness on a national scale, we certainly would want it to be in Urdu. It will be very difficult and
but
challenging.
if you want to reach the rural areas, you cannot have this conversation in Urdu. Yeah.
This is very important
Not in
thing,
rural areas.
because if you provide information, you create IEC material in Pashto, Sindhi, Balochi, Brahvi, Punjabi, Saraiki, Sheena, Baluchiskai, and different languages. So those tabooed could be addressed through indigenous languages. You cannot address those taboos through Urdu or English, because those people cannot relate themselves with these languages example, because the things are more localized, the real change can be visible. That is the thing. And one important area, we need to educate people, because people are asset.
We need to point taken, because we're short on time. Very quickly to wrap it up, I think Atif bhai, I would want you to answer this as well, because Zulqurnain bhai, every time he shows up on our show, you know, his wife dresses him up, you know. So I think that there's another stigma which I would love to speak about, you know, people who are especially or differently abled. What happens is that, you know, that for them to actually seek for their partners, to have a wonderful life with their kids, it's something which is still stigmatized. A lot of parents are worried about that as well. How's your married life, first of all?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, Zulqurnain. What about you? Alhamdulillah. Yeah, wonderful. So how do we get rid of that?
Actually, it's all about acceptability of diversity. We as a nation are not prepared to accept diversity. Rang kala hai, kad chota hai, these kind of things are still counted. So we have to accept human being as a like all of us are equal. हम सब इंसान बराबर है, but we have different fingerprints.
True.
That means there is a diversity within every human being. So we have to respect diversity. If we start respecting diversity, we will embrace disability.
Right, and thank you so much, and this is a very empowering closing and concluding remarks. Thank you so much for both of you for coming here and for showing us the way that how we can embrace this diversity and inclusivity. So now moving on to another very interesting news, and this is the name that resonates with a lot, because my mother keeps saying that the Scotch legend Jan Sher Khan has been inducted into the PSA Hall of the Fame. Pakistan Squash champion Jan Sher Khan has been inducted into Professional Squash Association Hall of the Fame in the special ceremony held at the Hong Kong Football Club. And congratulations, and that's an absolutely wonderful that how Pakistanis are making their presence felt within the international
And we're obviously
arena.
here to, kind of mention about all of those superstars who are doing wonderfully well while they were playing and even after their retirement as well. But there's another name which actually resonates, you must have heard about it as well, Chirag Deen.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
everybody knows about him as well. Ladies and gentlemen, today actually happens to be the 40th death anniversary of the renowned Punjabi poet and writer Ustad Daman. The 40th death anniversary of renowned Punjabi poet and writer Ustad Daman is being observed today. Ustad Daman was born on September 4th, 1911 in Lahore, and his real name was Chirag Deen. May his soul rest in peace. A lot of contributions that he have made.
And in order to understand the conversations and the contours of the next segment, so we've all been through this phase that if you have bought a new coat or a branded car, or if you bought a new house, that must bring us the happiness. But after some times, that happiness returns to the baseline, right? So there is a very interesting concept that is called the hedonic treadmill. So according to that concept, the more you buy all of these things or fulfill yourself materialistically, but after some time, your happiness returns to the baseline. And so I mean, that raises some very uncomfortable thoughts that whatever we buy, if the happiness is not compounding, then, is it even worth it? But in order to understand, it's in order to understand that how we can escape from that hedonic treadmill, I'm very glad that we have been joined all the way from the UK, who happens to be Dr. Naji Abu Ali. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Ali, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Please elaborate to our audiences what is exactly hedonic treadmills and how we can escape that cycle, and that too into the concept intersection of the glimmers. What exactly is the glimmer and how it is a counter narrative to the hedonic treadmills?
Okay, so as you were saying, it's pretty known that most people, when they buy something new or when something really joyful happens, they get happy for some time and then this happiness fades away. So some researchers back in 1978 decided to actually study this phenomenon, and they compared two groups. They compared a group who just won the lottery, a group of people who just won the lottery, and a group of people who had life-changing accidents and became disabled. So after they obviously realized that the people who won the lottery were overjoyed and were very happy initially, and understandably the people who had life-changing accidents were devastated. But they also realized that after 2 years, and this is the shocking part, both groups, the levels of happiness returned to baseline after 2 years. So after 2 years, the people who won the lottery had the same level of happiness as they had before 2 years, and the people who had life-changing accidents and became disabled had the same level of happiness after 2 years as well. And this actually proved the phenomenon of the hedonic treadmill or the hedonic adaptation. Sorry, I don't know.
You're audible. You're audible. Please go ahead and then explain to us, what are glimmers and how we can incorporate glimmers into our life to escape that hedonic treadmill.
Okay, yes, great. So most importantly, what the concept behind the hedonic treadmill is that we cannot achieve happiness from the external world. Whatever we do, whether we're having something great happening to us, or we're getting even married, getting a promotion, whatever we're getting, we cannot achieve lasting happiness from the external world. It's mainly because we are very adaptable creatures. We are adaptable species. We tend to it mainly depends on our internal world about how we see life, how we find meaning in life. So this is very important.
Got the point, Dr. Ali. I got your point. Now, in addition to this, I think to have a counter narrative to this conversation or the hedonic treadmill that we are speaking about, what we really need to kind of ask you over here is, so two things. Number one, so do you think that we shouldn't get such short-term material which will give us happiness for a certain period of time? Or what we are trying to say is that we really need to look for happiness from within. So are we trying to say that, okay, do not buy any material, do not feel happy, do not buy branded bags, do not buy good cars, do not buy good stuff, do not spend a lot of money? Or are we saying that do not take happiness from all of that material gain that you can get, rather get it from within your own self?
Exactly. So what we're saying, on the contrary, do all of this, get all the material things that make you happy, but you need to understand that this is not gonna make you inner, like it's not gonna make you happy from the inner world. You need to make
All
your
right.
own happiness. You cannot wait to get the new car or the new promotion or the new relationship to be happy. You need to start being happy from now. And how do you do that? this is
So
this
does
is
that mean,
the most.
very sorry, but does that mean, Dr. Ali, does that mean that people over here in the Islamic part of the continent who keep on saying that I need to marry 4 times or 3 times or 2 times, do you think that that's going to be a temporary happiness for them?
I mean, to each their own, but for sure, if they're marrying to be happy, then I have disappointing news for them. They can marry to have children. They can marry to maybe I don't know, increase their family size, to have like different options. But if they're marrying to be happy, then this is gonna be disappointing for them, because happiness will only come from the inner world, and in particular from inner love. Because I need to discuss another study that complements this study of hedonic treadmill. This study was done in Harvard. It's one of the longest active studies on health and happiness. And basically, they followed people for several generations, not even like 1 and 2 years. There we're talking about 50, 60, 70 years. They followed people, their children, stuff like that. And I'm gonna conclude, like, the conclusion of this study is very simple. Happiness is love. There was like, it was one sentence: happiness is love. And from the hedonic adaptation study and from this Harvard study, we can conclude that we need to build our own castle of love from within. We need to start loving ourselves, loving everything around us, the world. Yeah, sorry.
Absolutely, Dr. Ali. So thank you so much for highlighting this study in a very comprehensive manner. And now, because we are Muslims, right? And there's something missing in the Western world, in the Western academic literature that we are witnessing. They're borrowing these ideas of the health and happiness from the Eastern models. And I do feel that the Western model does have some sort of reductionist approach where it is constantly focusing on the happiness of the body, right? As a Muslim Islamic tradition, what can we offer to the Western world whenever we talk about happiness, whenever we talk about health and a holistic healing to the table out there? Because Islam has a very rich tradition, and as a doctor who's practicing this field, you know, what do you recommend to people or Muslims out there so that we can enrich our souls? Because at the end of the day, there's our soul or qalb is, you know, controlling. It has an agency of its own, right? It has more than the biological functioning of pumping just the blood. How do you answer that?
Wonderful question.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree with your colleague. It's a great question. Well, I think what's most important is that these things, that these traditions that are common in Eastern countries and Islamic countries, are actually now being understood more often and being applied more often, and even in Western countries. Because I think the most important thing about all of this is faith. When we talk about faith, it's talking about the relationship that we have with with our religion and with God in particular. And I think this gives a very important aspect to human health and happiness as well, because faith is fundamental. Like, it's very difficult to achieve. We live in a very difficult world. We live in a very uncertain life, and without having God's support, God's help, God's love, and understanding the relationship and appreciating the relationship with God and with the religion, it's very difficult to achieve lasting and total happiness. And this is where also gratitude comes into play, because this is very, like, we need
Doctor,
we need
doctor.
to be
Sure, go ahead, go ahead. Explain gratitude to us in Islamic terms. Please go ahead.
Yes, so gratitude is something very common in the Muslim world and in the Eastern countries, and it's very normal. Like we express gratitude in every moment. Whenever something happens, we express gratitude, and I think the benefits of gratitude, uh, of not only just expressing it but also feeling gratitude, is immense. Whether on the human health, on the human body, on the human brain, fighting diseases, feeling happier, better mood. The power of gratitude is really one of the most underrated things that one can do for their own health and their own body. And this is why um, I think now it's getting more popular. People are starting to understand, even in the Western countries, about the importance of gratitude, importance of faith, and achieving total
Thank you.
happiness. And
Thank,
and
thank
one
you
more
so
thing.
much, Dr. Ali. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
your
so much.
time. We're unfortunately short of time as well, but thank you so much for kind of concluding to the point where me and Hajra have always been advocating about it, that it's the gratitude that needs to come out. It needs to be us, who needs to be thankful to Allah Almighty for blessing us with almost everything, alhamdulillah. There's
Right.
nothing that we actually need to complain about. But there's another good news. When we were talking about happiness and all of these things, how, on Instagram and TikTok, people were using filters and whatnot to feel great about themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine that in a recent development, the social media platform TikTok will be imposing restrictions on teenagers under 18 years using beauty filters that alter their appearance. The ban, which will come into force in the next few weeks, aims to address concerns about how these filters have an impact on mental health. However, humorous filters that create effects such as animal ears and faces will not be affected. TikTok had commissioned a report with assessed to impact filters had the self-esteem of young people, drinkable mayonnaise. All right, well, I think that's it. So I think for everybody who's out there, even though that TikTok's not really working in Pakistan now, but
Really?
yeah, so certainly I don't know, so this is something that I
That's
experienced
new for
because
me.
before sleeping I would love to watch TikTok, but these days I cannot because
Okay.
even the VPN's not working and the TikTok's not working.
I don't know if there was a ban on that. But anyways, so now moving on to another very interesting segment that we want to unroll for our audiences, and that is related to the physical exertion, to the exercise and running, obviously. And Islamabad offers a very vibrant landscape if you want to run. So we are joined by Bilal Ehsan. He happens to be the co-founder of Islamabad's running club. Assalamu alaikum, Bilal, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Assalamu alaikum ji, thank you for inviting.
So, Bilal, tell us your philosophy behind founding this club and how successful and receptive it is towards the audiences.
So back in 2021, we were the friends of group who wanted to improve ourselves as a runner. So we were running for the last 2 and 3 years. So we realized there is
Post-COVID time,
yeah,
right?
post-COVID time, exactly.
This gentleman went to New York Marathon. I don't think that he's left any other marathon. I think there are only 2 that you've left behind. Right?
Yeah, Tokyo and Boston are left. So hopefully, inshallah, in the next year.
But whenever you look at a runner, we have this, I don't know, preset image of a runner that's going to be a thin, slim guy.
No. So I'm not the right example. So because I started running very late in my life. So
Okay.
I always used to be a gym person. My transformation was that I got injured in the gym, and I wanted to change something because I was injured for 4 months. And I was depressed, so I said that let's start something outside.
Okay.
So I started with a walk with my wife. We used to drop our kid, we used to go for a walk, then we started with small runs. Then apparently the group of friends, we said that there is a need for a club where we provide a platform where every individual will come and they can start the running.
Right.
And if you want to improve yourself, that's a platform where we will try to guide everyone that how to improve.
And are there specific timings for that, who can come to you and which are particular areas in which you like to run? Because I'm pretty sure that not all the spaces are out for running in Islam.
Yeah, Islam, if you talk about Pakistan, Islamabad is a wonderful place.
Absolutely.
The landscape, the roads are wonderful. It's one of the most beautiful cities.
You've got footpaths,
Absolutely.
City.
And you have parks as well. You have wonderful parks. So apparently,
Trails,
the
yeah.
club is free of cost.
True.
Anyone can come. Any age group person can come. We have people who are like 8 years old. We have people who are like 70 years old as well.
So what's the point of the club? Let's come down to that
so
point.
let me explain it. The purpose of the club was, there are clubs in Pakistan before us. The purpose of the club was to provide a platform where you can improve as a runner. So there need to be a structured training platform. It can't be that you come on a weekend, you come there and you basically just do a run and you go back. Running is a process. It's a scientific process. Anyone can come, you can improve yourself. So there needs to be a specific process for that. The first purpose was to improve ourselves. So we wanted to have a platform. So we started a platform. We were the 4 friends the co-founders who started the club. And apparently not only we improved ourselves, but apparently the people who started coming with us, they started improving themselves as well.
How did you improve yourself? How did your relationship with yourself change after running?
So running has transformed my life.
Okay.
I started it as a fitness thing, but it has.
Did you find it boring when you got started with it? I was like, yeah, kya bhagi ja raha ho, bhagi
No,
ja raha ho."
no. Every weekend, whenever I go for a run, there is a thought in my mind that how will I do that? Apparently, I have been doing it for a couple of years. I have done 7 marathons. Even despite that, there is a doubt in my mind. But by the end, when you finish the run, like this morning, I went for a run, and by the end of the run, I was feeling so good. The dopamine was high, and I was.
Which is why this is something I'm going to ask you, because with New York Marathon, you know, and you certainly want to go to Boston, you did your best in Chicago Marathon with 3 hours and 16 minutes. How many kilometers was it, for people to
Yeah, exactly. So let me clarify it. It's a very funny question. We sometimes get irritated as well. Like a lot of runs happening in Pakistan, they say like 5 kilometer marathon, 8 kilometer, So marathon is 42.2 kilometers. Half marathon is half of that, 21.1, and then you have 10 kilometers.
Now I'm going to bring you to that point. Now imagine that even if I'm on the treadmill, I'm like, okay, 5 kilometers, how am I going to do it? It's not my thing. So my thing still is gym. After 2 injuries and 2 surgeries, well, I still cannot run because that's the kind of physical ability that I have. Now, how do you think that IRC is actually going to help people, who want to kind of increase their capacity, have the right diet, nutrition?
Let me clarify it. If you have an injury, don't think that you can't run. Running is a process. We always tell people that 80% of running is an easy running. What we do mean by easy running? That easy running is like we can like chat about for an hour. We can talk about ghar mein kya ho raha hai, what's happening at the home, what's happening at the work. We can talk about that. Exactly. There is a misconception that you want to run every run as a fast run. So it's a process. It's just like that. If you have a bigger engine, just like a car, you will be able to go for a longer, and your speed will go up. So running is 80% easy, and 20% you need to incorporate like fast intervals, fast runs. So that's we need to tell the people that you don't need to run fast. Go for an easy run. If you can't run easy, go for walk and run.
And Bilal, are there other techniques as well? For example, I was reading, because when I was struggling to run, I read somewhere that you really need to, leave your palms just a little loose, all of those things. Steps and whatnot.
The first step is to come out of the home. Wear your shoes, because running is such a thing that you don't need to go to the gym. You just need to wear the shoes, just go out. The technique comes later. The first step is to make yourself motivated that today I am going for a run. Even if I will not be able to run, I will go for a walk. Even if I can't run, then I can
out of my comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Now the techniques.
Then the techniques come. Okay, what's your technique? What's your form? At what pace you should run? And that way the club plays an important role. When we started the club, we don't have one marathon runner. Now we have more than 40 marathon runners who have represented Pakistan outside as well and locally as well. And it's an amazing achievement. We feel happy for ourselves as well, but when we see these people who are doing marathons, they started from nothing, and when they tell about that not only it has improved their physical health, but mentally they have improved a lot. And with the running and everything, it brings a sense of community as well.
And it's very liberating experience, very empowering experience. Bilal, we also want you to relate to us, how receptive have the audiences been? I mean, what sort of changes they witnessed or experience in their life?
So when we started, we were like 4 members, and now, mashallah, we have more than 300 members. We recently have concluded our race series. Basically, let me explain you about the race series. In September, we started a race series which was 5 kilometers in September, 10 kilometers in October, and 2 days ago we have a half marathon. So it was a basically progress from 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers to half marathon. And the purpose of this race series was to make them prepare for upcoming marathons in Pakistan. So we have seen a tremendous trend, And I would like to thank not only the IRC club, but the other clubs who exist in Pakistan, because they have been playing an important role as well.
Right.
So the purpose is to provide them a platform
Right.
where they can express themselves, because there is so much hidden talent in Pakistan that
Absolutely.
you can't imagine. So, but so I was telling you about the community building. Running has at least taught me about how the communities are built.
Right.
Because running is something where everyone is connected for a common cause.
True.
Whether you can be
Right.
the CEO of the company, you
Right.
can be a businessman, you
Right.
can be a taxi driver. When you come for a running, everyone is equal.
And what is the ideal time for the running?
Oh,
for you?
right.
Early morning?
So, absolutely. So,
Right.
scientifically, they say that you should run in the morning,
Okay.
because apparently, if you do running late, like later in the evening,
Right.
your sleep can get disturbed. But if you can't run in the morning, you can go. You go for an evening,
Right.
whatever time you can get.
Right.
Like us in the morning, we sometimes go for 3 a.m. in the morning for the run in the summers,
Okay.
because apparently the weather is not conducive here.
Obviously.
So I would
It's
say
really
that anytime you get,
Bilal bhai, I've been running in the morning, even in the afternoon, even in the evening, and even at night. But the case was the same, because my mom was running after me with a sleeper in her hand. That was the only time I was running. But thank you so much for
Thank
being
you
with
so
us. Lovely to be in conversation
Thank you for
with
inviting.
you. People
Thank you.
out there, you can certainly look for the social media platforms of the IRC. You know, why don't you go ahead and mention them?
so we are on Instagram. You can approach us. We are on the Facebook. So anyone who wants to
Islamabad Running Club.
Islamabad Running Club, anyone who wants to join us is free of cost.
And I think I'm going to
Thank
start
you
running
so
today
much.
as well.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you so much, Bilal,
Let
for
me go.
coming and for having this wonderful
way?
conversation and having this
I'm about to run.
cross-pollination of the ideas regarding running and how it changes you. It's a liberating experience, very empowering experience, and obviously you are interacting with the nature, which is the added benefit. And this is all for free, right? And I think we need to use all of those free resources that have a really amazing dopamine effect on us. So with that, we are bidding you farewell. Until next time, it's a goodbye. Allah Hafiz and
Good morning. I'm running.